What's going on, everyone? It's once again Ash Wednesday on a Thursday, and you know what that means. Gotta grab some grub. Now, I made a reputation of always going to In-N-Out because that was a tradition, and In-N-Out's still one of my favorite places, but I'm out doing some work, and sometimes you just need a cheap budget lunch, which last time you saw I got the free fillet of fish. When you live in California, you gotta learn how to eat on a budget if you want to pay for gas. So today I got free French fry with the purchase of a drink, or actually any purchase of $1 or more. So I got my McDonald's Coke, and RDV will tell you McDonald's got the best Coke, although In-N-Out is pretty much on par. And then they were doing Coney dogs today at Sonic, so for $1. So I was like, yeah. And by the way, it's not a real Coney dog unless you add mustard and onion to it. Might sound weird, chili cheese Coney, put mustard on a chili cheese, but yeah. So that's it. That's the lunch. Oh, they gave me a fork. You're like, what the hell am I watching? So I got work to do. I didn't get to the comic book store yesterday, but I'm going to swing by the comic book store later. This is my lunch, and hopefully it allows me to afford comics, because comics ain't cheap. And I got a couple of big like hardcover deluxe books that I'm looking to get. Like, for example, the Ascender hardcover deluxe, one of my favorite comics in recent years. That Ascender Descender series, fantastic, highly recommend it. It is not highbrow at all. I was talking to RDV about it, and he was like, "Oh, you like those sophisticated comics?" And I was like, "Oh, dude, no, Descender is not like that at all. It's like Star Wars. It's like basic. It's got a couple of ideas, but it doesn't try to be fancy about it." So RDV, if you're listening, I give you about 20% chance you're watching this video. Check it. I would recommend checking it out. It's on the same level as Snow Angels was. Different thematically. Snow Angels a little bit more of a horror thriller. Descender is a little bit more adventure-y, although it's got some similar themes about robots killing people. So it's a fun book. I absolutely loved it. I fell in love with it. I came in on Ascender. I had never read Descender. Then I went back and read Descender. And I used to say, you can read either one. It's like the Star Wars and the Star Wars prequels. You can either start at Episode 4, New Hope, the original, and then go the prequels, which I recommend, by the way. And same thing, you go Ascender and then go back. But after reading the whole completion of the story, I think I recommend now starting with Descender, because Ascender isn't just like a new story as I thought it was. By the time it was over, it's actually the ending of Descender as well. The Descender kind of leaves off on not a cliffhanger, but like an open ending, the way Empire Strikes Back did, where you're like, oh, there's going to be more to the story. I did not know that because I hadn't read it. So the end of Ascender is also the ending of Descender, which is funny too. I really appreciate this. I ended up getting the variant cover because the variant cover is Descender. I think what was like Descender 50. Was it 50? Basically, they made a variant cover with like the legacy number. How Marvel does that. So you could get the final issue of Ascender, which was 18, and the variant cover I think was like Descender 50, counting the whole series as one. I thought that was kind of neat, so I picked it up. But anyways, so I'm gonna eat some chili dogs, French fries. Look at this. This is a $4 lunch. That's because this used to be $1, and now they're $2 because, Biden inflation is only in my mind. It's 8% inflation apparently means double the price. So I'm gonna do that, and then I'm gonna cut. It's gonna be a little while for me, but it'll be instantaneous for you. I'll cut to comics and other stuff. So see ya in half a second, I guess. Hey, I'm back. See, you didn't have to wait that long. It was a couple hours for me, but I'm back at the My little favorite parking spot is a park near my house. This isn't the park that I'm shooting. I actually got my back to the park, but just open field. There's a little construction site out there. Some guy parked over to the left there, walking his dogs. It's a quiet little place, and yeah. Anyways, so I'm chilling, and I was thinking about what I wanted to talk about on today's video, and I figured a few weeks back I talked about how I was tired of not talking about politics, and by that I mean not that I necessarily want to talk politics all the time, but about a year or two I decided I wasn't gonna put politics in my videos. You know, people didn't want to hear me rant about whatever, and believe me, I can. I'm a very political person, not necessarily by choice, but you know, if you don't care about politics, you're still going to be subjected to it, is my thought. And you know, if you don't want to be subjected to idiots, then you need to get involved. And I guess I need to get involved more than I actually am, but you get my point. It's everyone's free to do what they want. Anyways, I'm not going to turn this into a political video, but so I've been thinking about my personal beliefs and interjecting them into my videos and so forth. And I was thinking, you know, even more than politics, the thing I care about is religion, specifically my personal beliefs. And some of you may know, if you've been following the channel for a while, I'm a Christian. I don't talk about it much because it's one of those things that society teaches us not to talk about. And well, at least not publicly. I mean, to other Christians, of course, but it's, you know, people don't, if you're not a Christian, and some of you listening probably are, you just, you know, I don't want to hear you hoist your beliefs on me. And fair enough. I'm not trying to force any beliefs on anyone. In fact, one of my dominant beliefs in my belief system is that Christianity is all about freedom, free will. At the core heart of Christianity is the concept that God created man and gave us free will. And I know that there's lots of Christians out there that want to force their beliefs on people, or at the very least be really pushy. People want to force their beliefs into politics and different things like that. And while on some level I get that, you know, if my worldview is that you shouldn't murder people because my God says so, it only makes sense that if I'm a lawmaker, that I'm going to want to live in a society that says we're not allowed to murder people. So on some level that makes sense. But on the other hand, I also believe that we shouldn't be a theocracy. If God is not forcing his will on me, what right would I have to force my will on you? I believe in a society that has a government that is actually removed from God. I do actually believe in the separation of church and state. Side note, separation of church and state is not actually in the Constitution, as many people have been led to believe. But the concept is there in a sort, and that's where the term comes from. But anyways, I do believe in that. I don't believe government has any role to play in religion. In fact, this country was founded on the precepts of getting away from state religion, right? Like the Church of England, the Pilgrims came here. They were like, we don't want, quit forcing this on us. They were Christians too, but they didn't want the church, and that's the danger of government, right? It's like even if we believe the same thing, we're both professing to be Christian, your belief of Christianity might be different than mine. And you know, there's thousands of years of history of Christians murdering each other because they believe differently. And that got me to thinking, just talking about my beliefs. And I guess I want to talk about this because I want to be upfront, and I want to be able to talk about my beliefs in the future, and not have people just be like, what's this all about? I'm going to refrain. Like I said, I never want to push anyone to believe, but that doesn't necessarily mean I wouldn't want to persuade or encourage you to explore the beliefs that I have, because obviously they're the most important thing in my life. But I also, because I want to talk about like misnomers about religion and that belief. And a lot of seculars have the idea that Christianity is very judgmental, and it's all about condemning people. For example, in my belief, I believe homosexuality is an abomination to God. So there's a lot of people in the world that think that I hate homosexuals because of that, and that's absolutely not true. If you follow the actual teachings of the Bible as a real Christian would, and believe me, there's a lot of people that call themselves Christians and are ready to burn witches at the stake. That just because you call yourself a Christian doesn't mean you follow the religion. And I believe the religion should be judged on its merits, not the failings of its followers. The teachings that I believe are to love everyone. Everyone, you, myself, we're made in the image of God. Even if you're homosexual, you're made in the image of God. A Christian's duty is to love their brothers as they love themselves. But that doesn't mean that we just condone anything you do. You're not supposed to steal. And I think most of us can come to that moral agreement, right? Like, we shouldn't steal from one another. If you do steal, and I've stolen in my life, you probably have. I don't hate you because you've committed the sin of stealing. It's no more than I would hate someone that committed the sin of homosexuality. I can talk about the thing that I think is wrong and still not condemn, because believe me, I'm no saint. And I'm about to be 49 years old on Monday, the 26th, and my life's led me down a really, really strange path that I never saw coming. And I've gone through my phases of self-righteousness and judgmentalness, and I understand a lot of this where it comes from. And I believe that there's a lot of good-hearted Christians out there that are judgmental, not because they want to see people condemned, but just because it's important to them, and they want to see people live rightly. It's like when I was growing up, I was raised by a single mom, and I was always having to eat health food, which is kind of funny because I'm not particularly healthy, but I wasn't really allowed to eat like sugary cereals, barely allowed to have sodas. She was really on a kick of, I ate vegetables all the time, which is great. I actually praise her for this, because now as an adult, I really love vegetables and I love good healthy foods. At the time I was a kid, I didn't agree with it. But my point is sometimes we believe that we're helping people by pushing things we believe are good on them. But in the long run, I also believe that there is no greater thing, if the Bible is true, there is no greater thing than the coming to know the Lord. And so if I were to push you away, it doesn't matter, like anything else doesn't matter. So I don't know where I'm really going with this, but I want to be able to talk about what I believe. I don't like keeping it secret, so to speak. I feel really awkward having to walk in two worlds. I don't think there's anything wrong with Christianity. There's definitely a lot of things wrong with many Christians, and myself included. I tell people I'm not a Christian because I think I'm better than you. I'm a Christian because I think I'm worse. I need God. I need that moral compass. I need that cleansing. But I'm also not a Christian just because I have that need. I'm a Christian because I just believe in the divine creation of the universe. And my belief in the divine creation of the universe, which stems from a basic concept of something cannot be created from nothing, therefore the universe was created by something, and the only truly rational explanation that I've ever heard is an eternal God. Now, is that eternal God the God of the Bible? I can only profess faith to that. I can't prove it to anyone. But I do have my own personal testimonies. Well, I'm not going to get here. This isn't a sermon. This is just me talking about myself and my personal. But I want to be able to not separate that anymore. Same thing with the politics. I want to be me. So that's where I'm coming from. I don't know if any of you guys battle that. I know that can be tough, whether it's a Christian religion or other religions, or I mean even agnosticism or atheism. I mean, whatever it is you believe, the ironic thing is we're all in that boat together. It's all belief. An atheist follows a system of belief the same as a Christian. There's no proof of anything. Atheism, you have to believe that there's no God. I mean, ultimately, I think I hit the mic. My personal belief comes from trying to boil the decision process down to the barest roots. And to me, that is the simple question of, is there a God or not? Yes or no? And there's no proof to either side. Was the universe just created randomly? Did it just sort of just fall into existence, and the laws of the universe, inertia, gravity, what have you, like, did those just sort of randomly occur and we discovered them? Seems improbable to me, but people think that. Or is there a divine architect behind it all? Which could be numerous things. It could be the God of the Bible. It could be the story of the Matrix. We're all in a simulation created by AI. But if you boil it down, it's one of those two things. Unless you can think of a way of boiling it down even further, I don't know. And so I was like, well, I analyzed the things, and as I alluded to, I can't accept in all of my things that I've witnessed and observed and understand that the non-creation concept just doesn't hold water to me personally. So then it forks off. So I go, okay, so if it's creation, what kind of creation is? Are we in a simulation? Is it God of the Bible? Is it God of Islam? Is it Hinduism? Like, what is it? I don't know. So like I said, I'm not trying to turn this into a sermon, but that's me getting in the weeds. So I've came down my path. You have your, whether you share my similar belief, whether you might be Islam, whether you might be Hindu, Shinto, Buddha, I don't know all the world's religions, Sikh, or you might just be agnostic or pagan or atheist. Whatever it is, it's based on a belief. And so we all share that in common. And I think I also believe in absolute truth. So I'm a seeker of truth. I whatever the truth is, I want to know it. And you can't know truth if you're hiding in lies. And I've just been thinking about lately. I recently had gotten back to attending church, and this was something I had been apart from for the past 6 months or so, most of 2022, as a matter of fact. So it's just been on my mind a lot, and I just don't want to be living in two worlds. Doesn't mean that my videos are going to be all preachy, you know, like I'm not going to try to sermonize to you. However, if you ever want to talk personally, I got my Discord, my DMs are open on Twitter or whatever. I do like talking to fellow believers, and I'm always open to answering questions too, if you have. I don't think that I'm better than anyone because of my beliefs. I don't think someone that has different beliefs is somehow lesser than me. Like I say, I cannot boast. I don't believe that because if God is real, just because I believe in him doesn't make me superior. So anyways, that's where we're at. You probably were like, what the hell did I get myself into? And if you made it this far, you know, thanks for indulging me. I do these videos as kind of a form of, it's an informal therapy session, if you will. I just like talking about comics, and I like talking about what's on my mind. And I feel that if you're watching my videos and you're hearing me talk about books and you care about what I have to say at all, and a few of you do, that getting a little insight to what makes me tick might matter somewhat. And it feels good to get that off my chest. And you never know where some of this stuff leads. I've met some really cool people through this channel and social media and stuff. And so if you've been a regular of this channel, you know who you are. I'm glad to know you, and look forward to our relationships in the future. Kids, I'm getting all mushy. So let's get on to comics. I kind of spoiled the first one in the first camera pass. So this is 2 weeks of books. I don't get my books every week anymore because I just have this really small pull list. I'm going towards quality over quantity. And I'm kind of running out of room for floppies too, by the way. And I know I should probably just sell a bunch of books, but I'm really lazy. I don't like I look at all my Tom King Batmans, and I'm like, I should just dump this on eBay, but it's not even like the money thing. It's just more of the hassle of packing it all up and doing all that business. So yeah, anyways, so this is from last week, Samurai Doggy number 2. I did a video on the first one. This comic is strong contender for my pick of best new comic of 2022. It is fantastic. Is it a perfect comic? No, but there is so much heart and soul and passion into this, and I feel like this is a comic that just embraces the art form and the medium of comics. It's a visual splendor. You can't really tell by the cover. It just looks really cartoony and really independent, and I'm kind of shocked. I like the interiors better than the covers. I look at... I thought this was going to be kind of a joke comic, and it turned out to be something very special. The creators, Chris Tex and Santos, is the artist. They're both Brazilian guys, and I feel like they have something to say. Now, that doesn't... I'm not at all trying to suggest that this book is a deep comic. It's not. It's, something to say doesn't mean that you're, really highbrow, like you're writing the next Sandman or Watchmen or something. It's sometimes comics are meant to be just a joyful, fun, thing. And Samurai Doggy really achieves that in my opinion. I'm really shocked. So this issue was not as good as the first. So I didn't do a video on it. I thought about it. I'm not sure how many people are into this book, but it's because it doesn't even have Samurai Doggy in it. It's got a brand new character, and you don't know who he is, and he's kind of going through some things, and it's really kind of a left turn after that first issue. But I suspect greatly that it's one of those type of stories, like the creators are going to be introducing characters like that and then bringing them together. Because at the end of this comic, that character comes across Samurai Doggy. And I just think that that's a style, I've seen that done before, and it can be done to very good effect. However, if you're not sure where the story is going, I've heard some people criticize this book because of that. It can seem like really off-putting. You're like, wait a second, what happened to Samurai Doggy? So what the hell am I reading? I think if this were like a trade and you didn't have to stop at the end of this book and you could keep going, your fears would be alleviated because you'd be like, oh, okay, we're back on track. Whereas with the comic, you don't know. You have to wait 30 days to see, you know, and it can make you a little apprehensive. But I have faith in this book. I really think that first book was fantastic. It's one of those comics that I just want to flip open again and go through it. Like I said, it's not particularly deep or profound or anything like that. It's just, it's simplistic fun, but executed very well. And as an art form, I just love, comics are visual. I talk about that a lot, right? And everyone kind of knows that, but there's so many comics today that people just read for the story, and we forgive the art. Like, I have shitty art, and we're just like, whatever. But if the story, oh, okay. And then the story is over, and we're like, oh, that was a cool story, and we put the book down. We never want to look at it again because the art was only there to help tell the story, but not be like a pleasure source in itself. I believe like great comics need to be like art books, right? In an art book, you don't have a story. You just have the art. You flip through, and you're just going through it for the art. A comic book should be like that too. You should be like, I've read the story a million times. I just like to flip through and see these pages. And I feel that way about Samurai Doggy, and not because it's particularly the most amazingly rendered art. It's just, there's just something about it. It just reeks with style and personality. Anyways, I've talked about this forever. If you can't tell that I like this book, I'm really trying to push it. Samurai Doggy, get yours. So next is A Righteous Thirst for Vengeance. I did a video on this. I struggled really to kind of go through it because I did it on all 11 issues. I didn't really spoil it, so if you're worried about spoilers, don't. You can watch the video. I mean, I did spoil a couple of beginning parts, but I only covered the first couple issues, and I talked about the overall journey of this book. I believe, and what I said in that video, parts of what I said about that video is that I believe this is a masterpiece, and I believe this is cut off short. This is the last issue of Righteous Thirst for Vengeance, and I just strongly suspect that they had to come to this issue very abruptly. I don't think the sales were supporting it, and that's too bad because the journey of this book was phenomenal. Anyways, watch that video for more. A great book. Sad to see it be no more. Next, Usagi Yojimbo 31. Speaking of last books, this also is the last book. Usagi Yojimbo is done with IDW. This is the final issue of Usagi Yojimbo. I'm not sure why, but the book is going to continue, or Stan Sakai is going to continue doing Usagi Yojimbo, rather, back at Dark Horse. I'm not sure why he left Dark Horse to come to IDW, and now why he's going back to Dark Horse. I don't have any of the info. If you know why that is, or if you have any articles you can point me to, I would be glad to know. But as I've talked about many times, I think aside from X-Men, Usagi Yojimbo might be my favorite thing about comics. Or rather, what I should say, X-Men is the thing that anchored me, that's what drew me into comics. It's my favorite mainstream comic of all time. What X-Men is to Marvel DC, Usagi is to independent comics. It's for over 35 years, this has been just absolutely phenomenal. And much like Samurai Doggy, it's not because it's profound, this epic, highbrow work of art and literature. It's just what it is. It's a simplicity. It's simplicity, but executed so highly. It's a joy. It's a joyful book. This to me is what independent comics are about. And looking forward to seeing what they're going over to Dark Horse. It's going to suck to have to start new numbering over, but that's the way it is. Berserker 10 seems like this has been forever since the last Berserker. I kind of forgot what was happening, but then I got reminded. Yeah, if you've been following Berserker, man, the last issue was a kind of a cliffhanger. It's a very interesting story. It's not resonating for some. I'm in on it. I think it's I like stories where you don't know what's going on, and that part of the story is learning what's going on. The story just sort of starts and you don't know who the character is, why they exist. You know, some stories are very much like once upon a time, and they start off and it's like, here's what we're about to tell you, the story of such and such. And that's fine, there's nothing, but then some stories are like, just drop you in, and you're like, who are these characters? What am I reading here? And you're trying to piece it all together. And Berserker does a really good job of that. So if you look up closely, you can see those faces made of bodies, pretty gross. So yeah, Berserker number 10. Looking forward to reading that. And last but not least, because 20th Century Men didn't come out this week. That was supposed to be on my poll, so that would have been here. But Vanish number 1, Donny Cates and Ryan Stegman. This is a thick book. It feels like twice as thick as the other books. I was expecting it to be expensive. It's only $3.99. This is the B cover. This is Daniel Warren Johnson. And as much as I really like Ryan Stegman, I wasn't really digging the covers. I went through the League of Comic Geeks and I really like the Daniel Warren Johnson covers, and I normally do want the artist of the book, but the DWJ covers were just really standing out to me. So the first 3 issues at least have Daniel Warren Johnson covers, so those are the ones I'm going to be pulling, especially since there's multiple. I kind of hope he does like at least 6 covers, because that'll have some consistency. But yeah, check this book out. I'm a fan of Donny Cates and Ryan Stegman. What they did at Marvel, they were some of my favorite things from modern Marvel. And since this is kind of like a superhero-esque book, I'm not super sure what this is, but there it is. That's the character. I'm even more stoked, because while some of Donny Cates' independent stuff is not as interesting to me. Like, I don't care about, what was it Redneck? One of the Red books. There's like 3 vampire books that have like Red in the name. One of them's Donny Cates, and I was like, he did that one that, what was that one he did about the old man in Texas? Gods. I can't remember the name of it. It was a pretty cool book, but it just, I don't know, like, I really like what he does. I'm a fan of him because of his Marvel stuff. I like what he does, so I'm hoping that this rekindles some of that feeling. I'm excited for this. Let me know if you pick this up, or if you're gonna pick it up because you didn't know about it until now, or what have you. And that's it. That's my comics for the week. Let me fan these out. No, that doesn't work. They're gonna fall. Tell me which one you think is going to be the best. I've read a couple already, and so far Righteous Thirst is the best of what I've read, these 2. But yeah, they're all good. I'm excited. Make sure you're buying books that you want to read. Don't do what I did, or a lot of people do, and buy books that are just mediocre, and then you're like, and you look at your bank account and you're like, oh man, I could have had money for something else. And these books, man, I just spent $10 on Harley Quinn, and it was kind of meh. I could have done something better. So put your comments down below. What are you getting for this week? What's going on in your life? Love to hear from you. I try to comment on every comment that comes in, and even if you don't have anything to say, if you just send a thumbs up, or just be like, hey Ash, or whatever, or if you made it this far and you want to tell me I suck, that'll hurt my feelings, but yeah, you can do that, I suppose. Yeah, so hopefully things are going good with you, and hopefully you're enjoying some good books. Tell me what I'm missing. Is there an awesome comic right now, not from the big 2, because I'm really not buying Marvel and DC. But you're free to talk about them. I do read Venkman's copies from time to time. But if there's an indie book that I'm missing out on that you know about, you're just like, man, this is great, let me know. I love hearing about new stuff. And I'm going to stop blabbing now because this has been going on forever. Thanks for listening, and I'll talk to you next time.